All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, and anybody that trickles in will catch up.
Yep.
I'm Danvers Child. I'm the hoof health consultant for SmartPak, and this is my boss.
That is not true.
This is Jessica Norman. She's the Senior Director for Equine Health. For SmartPak, she's been with them, 13 years? And is pretty much a genius at this stuff. And she's going to talk about body scoring, and we'll go over that. I think it's just, as you look at these horses, you'll see, you will know what their feet look like without having to see their hooves. So,
excellent. Thank you, Danvers. So, body condition scoring is something at SmartPak we feel that every horse owner, every hoof-care professional, every trainer, whatnot, should all know how to do this so everybody can be evaluating horses in a standardized method and be talking the same language when we say, I think that horse is too skinny and I think that horse is too fat. So we're going to jump right in. I think one of the challenges with the horse world in general is the whole, however the saying goes, if ask 10 people how to do 10 horse people how to do something and you'll get 11 answers or whatever people always say. But if you were to say, which one of these horses are skinny, which one of them look good, which one are erring on the fat side, you would definitely get a variety of opinions, maybe depending also on that horse person's own background. So we're going to learn about body condition scoring. Before we jump into that, though, I just have one slide. I just wanted to make sure that this condition called equine metabolic syndrome is at least on your radar screens. We're not going to go in depth about this today, but this is a metabolic condition that happens in middle-aged horses very frequently with these easy keeper type horses that are prone to the cresty neck and whatnot. And it's very closely linked with obesity, and then not every equine metabolic horse will technically be obese, but frequently they're obese, and the horses will develop insulin resistance and eventually laminitis if they're not managed. So because we're talking about weight today, I just wanted to at least have this on your radar screen. SmartPak has a lot of resources. Our veterinarian has put together a lot of great learning resources for folks who want to know more about this. Also worth mentioning, it is not the same thing as Cushing's. Even as close as 10 years ago, we thought that might be the same condition happening in the senior horse versus the younger horse. It's definitely two different things going on. So that's another good point. So definitely check out more about equine metabolic syndrome if you have a lot of horses in your practice with this scary looking crusty neck. We're going to jump into a quick video from our veterinarian, Dr. Gray, and it has not been playing when I played in my PowerPoint, so just bear with me one sec. I'm going to open it this way.
Hi, I'm Dr. Lydia Gray. I'm the staff veterinarian here at SmartPak, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, body condition scoring. What it is, why you should be doing it, how to do it, and then some additional measurements that could also help. The body condition scoring scale is a numerical-based, standardized system of assessing fat cover in a horse. It was developed in the 80s by Henneke and his team at Texas A&M University. It ranges from 1 to 9, with 1 being emaciated and 9 being very fat or obese. And each number in the scale roughly corresponds to about 50 pounds. By developing this universal standard of body condition scoring, horse owners and veterinarians, nutritionists, and other healthcare professionals are able to talk apples to apples, or at least be on the same page when it comes to discussing a horse's weight. Because one person's perception of what a thin or skinny horse is different than another person's perception. It's also helpful when tracking a horse that's in a controlled weight loss program. If you're trying to get the horse to go from an 8 to a 7.5 to a 7, when you use those numbers, everyone knows what you're talking about. Everyone knows that too thin isn't good, but too fat isn't good either. A study out of Virginia showed that just over half, 51% to be exact, of the horses they studied came in at 7s, 8s, and 9s, which is overweight or obese. And there are some serious health risks associated with being overweight and obese, such as laminitis, equine metabolic syndrome, bone, joint, and tendon injuries, difficulty cooling off after exercise or during hot weather, and just general reduction in performance levels. Next, let's talk about how to body condition score. There are 6 areas to be assessed when measuring the fat cover on a horse's body. The first is along the neck, then behind the shoulders, along the withers, across the ribs, down the back or the loin, and then the tail head. When evaluating each of these 6 areas, it's important to lay your hands on and feel them as well as to visualize or look at them because looks can be deceiving. Henneke's body condition scoring chart has criteria for each of the 6 locations that correspond to the 9 numbers. So you use that to come up with a number for each location, and then you just sort of average them up to come up with a general impression for that particular horse. Now, not every horse read the book, so it's okay to not have a nice, neat, whole number like a 4, 5, or a 6, a 4.5, 5.5, 6.5 is just fine. Understand that in some disciplines like racing and some life stages like pregnancy, a lower or higher body condition score is preferred. And some horses have extremes in conformation like a sway back or high withers that make giving a number to that part of the body very difficult. It's okay to throw those out and just average up the rest of them. Now that we've covered body condition scoring, which is a subjective way of assessing your horse's condition, let's talk about an objective way, and then you can record both of these in your horse's journal to keep track. The most common objective measurement is horse's weight, and to do this, you'll need a commercially available weight tape. I'd recommend picking one, sticking with it, because it's not the absolute numbers on here that are meaningful, it's more the trend, because you're doing this about every month or so. If you don't have a commercially available weight tape, any flexible measuring tape will do. You just have to take an additional measurement and then plug it into a formula or plug it into our online horse weight calculator and it will do the math for you. With both these measurement tools, now you can track your horse's weight and condition and work with your veterinarian and nutritionist to maintain his ideal score.
All right, so as Dr. Gray already did a lovely job walking us through, there are 9 scores from 1 to 9, 1 being extremely emaciated. I've never seen a horse in this condition. Hopefully none of us will, at least not in person. 5 being the ideal score for most horses, and 9 being the really obese horse. And Dr. Gray also mentioned that you might have a race horse or let's say an upper level event horse who is purposely managed and kept at more of a 4, 4.5 because that horse has a lot of lean muscle and not a lot of body fat for the type of work they're doing. They can't carry extra weight to be working at speeds and all that kind of stuff. You might have a brood mare who you're purposely managing at more of a 6 so that especially she has extra body fat for lactation because she's going to burn that off once the foal is born. Is that making sense to everybody? And again, I have this lovely show hunter on here to remind us that I think one of the most valuable parts of knowing this system, especially in your role, is like depending on if you walk into a hunter jumper barn or a quarter horse barn or a dressage barn or what have you, everybody, especially different show worlds, have different, kind of eyes for what is fat and what is thin. And this really gives us, as we've already talked about, an apples-to-apples comparison from a health perspective of what's ideal. Especially in the show hunter ring, I find that although these horses are quite fit because they're in a lot of work and training and whatnot, they're often carrying a lot more weight than they really need to be because the look of that show ring is they like a really big round horse. It's just sort of the trend right now. And, they're fit and whatnot, but, over time it's probably taking more toll on those horses' joints and other body systems than it really needs to be. Everybody with me? All right, so we're going to, and this is just another look at the 6 areas of the body that you score. So again, it's pretty simple. You have a reference of what those 9 numbers are. You look at the horse, and very important, you actually put your hands on the horse and feel those 6 different areas of the body. And then you give each area a number and you average them up. What is one area, I get this question a lot, what's one area that you might be surprised is not evaluated? One part of the body that's not scored? What's an area in people that we tend to carry weight? In the belly, right, yeah. So in humans, there's a definite health risk link to carrying, you hear maybe your doctor talk about your waist to hip ratio and all that kind of stuff. It's because the amount of body fat you carry in your midsection in people is correlated with your risk of heart disease and some other problems like type 2 diabetes. In horses, that really risky area is much more, at least from what we understand, this crest of the neck. Horses, they don't tend to carry like the problematic body fat that we associate with some of these metabolic syndromes in their tummy the way that people do. I will say that we get a lot of questions like, oh, but this horse has a hay belly, so I've been feeding him less. And a lot of times when I hear hay belly, the next question is it a senior, or has the horse maybe been diagnosed with something like Cushing's disease? Because lots of senior horses, and definitely those that have Cushing's, will often start to have muscle wasting, or they'll lose their lean muscle mass, so they get a sway back, they'll lose their top line, and they'll often get that pot belly appearance, and people think, oh my gosh, is he too fat? It's very confusing, and often what that could very well be, you'd have to talk to a veterinarian, is horses have a lot of abdominal muscle, and they have very heavy intestines, and that abdominal muscle is holding all that weight up inside the body cavity. So if you've got an old horse who's starting to get a sway back and losing his top line and has that pot-bellied appearance, it's not that he's fat. He's probably losing his abdominal muscle, and his guts are hanging lower because they're so heavy, and the abs aren't there anymore. So that's not the type of horse you want to start feeding less to. You want to evaluate what's going on, and there might be some other health issues. So again, we're going to do some practice. This is the lovely Dr. Gray practicing evaluating the rib section of the horse. The first few horses on here, I think the first 4 or 5, she actually went to the farm, we took pictures of the horses, and she physically evaluated them, so I know the scores are correct. And then I have a few more that I threw in just for fun that we'll just take our best guess based on the photo, but just remember you're supposed to physically touch the horse when you really do this. So first horse, what do we think? I'm starting off kind of easy. This is a thoroughbred. Doesn't look too bad.
Just shout out a number.
Shout out some numbers. 5. Remember, 5 is ideal. 1's way too thin. 9 is way too fat. 4.5. All right. Dr. Gray scored this mare at a 5. So you can kind of, if you look at those 6 areas that we talked about, she looks healthy, but she's not carrying extra fatty deposits, right? All right, what about this one? We've got a 2, 3, 2.5. All right. This guy came in as a 3. He was a rescue to that same farm, so they were just starting him in a rehab program. Yeah, good. Extra beer tickets over here. And just a side note, too, if you come across horses like this in rescue situations, the vet really needs to be involved. You can't just start feeding this horse like a normal horse, 3s or lower especially, that it's quite dangerous. You need to really ease them into a normal feeding program. So just that's something, side note. This is a Welsh cob. We didn't really talk much about this, but there's definitely kind of a breed genetic link here. Those pony breeds, Morgans, the ones that tend to be easy keepers. We got a 6, 7. Oh, wait till you see the real 8s. This one was a 7. Yeah, you guys are doing good over there. I will say this mare does look like she has a little bit of a belly too, but it may also be because her abs aren't in great shape. So that's definitely a factor. I notice when I don't ride my horse as frequently, his belly looks like it hangs lower, and it's because his abs aren't as strong. So that's a thing too. But for sure, you can see like up around her bum. It's a little hard because she's dark, but there's some fat storage. That behind the shoulder area is a particularly noticeable spot. Her mane's flopping over, but she's got a little bit of stuff going on here. This is a quarter horse mare, young quarter horse mare. She tricks everybody. No one ever gets her right. 5. Damn, you guys are so good today. All right, she also got a 5. She looks like she's a little fatter than the very first horse, right? I think it's because she's shorter coupled horse than the long thoroughbred. And also keep in mind, it's you're putting your hands on those 6 areas and then you're averaging the scores. So anyway, Dr. Gray actually met her and gave her a 5. She looks a little chubbier to me, but we'll believe her. All right, and here's where the rest of these are just pictures I found, and we're going to take our best guess, even though we should technically be putting our hands on the horses. The gray horse is a little hard, too, to tell. Oh, this one's, yeah. I ended up saying 5. I could go 5.5. I don't know how fit this horse is. Like, that could be some muscling. I think probably 5.5 is my best guess without touching the horse. Pony. 6? Yeah, good. That's what I scored as well. What's particularly noticeable on this little pony? I really noticed this little bump. That little lump there, that's a tricky spot. That means this horse is storing fat in a way he shouldn't be. Right there. See that? That's fat. Yeah, up here. Good. And then just a hint of maybe something going on up there. One more, a couple more. Some kind of warm blood. Yeah, I gave this one a 5 too. Again, I think this horse is pretty fit, and I think this is actually some muscling up here. But again, we're guessing because we should really be feeling these horses. This may or may not be my own fat horse, who I really struggle with. He's definitely not. He's never been a 5 in his life. Yeah, so he's a old type Morgan, the Lippet Morgan, where the real old type, no saddlebred or anything in there. He's also only 14.3. This picture makes him look bigger. But luckily this is his fattest phase. 6s, you won't offend me, believe me. I score him as a 7. Yeah, if you think about that Welsh cob. I have another picture of him. I just clipped him here, but I just thought this was a good, as you can just barely see, he always has the darn little tail fat, and he has quite a lovely neck, if I do say so myself, but if I'm not, some of this is definitely fat. So, and he has this, Morgans have no withers anyway, but he definitely stores fat in here. His shoulders is a tricky area. So I've gotten him on times when I can ride more frequently, I've gotten him down to a good solid 6. If I ever get him to a 5, I would be psyched, but I don't know if that'll happen. But he is an extremely strict program. He would be so obese if he didn't live with me. Yeah, that's his little winter trace clip. All right, I think I have a couple. Okay, then we got our 2 fatties. And I've not this. We use this photo a lot. I don't know this horse, but I gave it an 8. It could be. Believe me, I've seen some customers' horses that were fatter than this, so that's why I gave this one an 8. What's the most noticeable thing, concerning thing on this horse from this angle? And also this apple bum thing. When you start. The cankles, yeah. And honestly, these horses, when they get to this state, there's a lot of, it's funny, but there's also a lot of systemic inflammation that could be associated with these metabolic conditions, so he very well be stocked up because of something going on. But when you start to see that the spine is like a crease in the bum, that is not a good thing. So that's all fat back there, and a lot of shoulder fat, and it's a little hard to see at this angle. We have another one here, last one. I gave this one an 8 as well. Again, it's kind of a funny angle. The thing to note here, the Fries brand tells us this is a Mustang, and these metabolic conditions are there's a definite genetic link. I wish we had more time, but Mustangs in particular, that genetic group of horses evolved to be very hardy, to have long, harsh winters where they don't have a lot to eat, so their metabolism frequently is quite slow. So then you put them in a McDonald's drive-through lifestyle with this lush green pasture, and they get so fat so easily. Whereas a thoroughbred would probably do fine out on a big green pasture like this because they're just metabolically so different. So we see this a lot in Mustangs. Just some of the research that I reference, and if we have time, I'm happy to answer questions. And then we probably are going to run out of this handout, but I can get more, I can email it to you, and you're welcome to make photocopies for your clients. It's just the basics of how to score so that you could share that if you wanted to. But if I have a couple minutes, I'll answer questions. Otherwise, the handout? Yeah.
One of the things that we don't have time to cover here that is important is the whole idea of the correlation between the body scoring and hoof scoring. And you start looking at these horses that are running a 1 and a 2 and a 3, and they're going to need a supplement to help get that foot back. They're going to need maintenance to help get that foot back, protection to help get that foot back. And it's you can see it in the dull hair coat. It's going to happen in the feet. And those are the horses that are going to take time, that you need to make sure that you're talking to your clients about, we're going to recover this foot over the next 3 to 6 months. And you're not going to even see anything for that first 3 months. And the same goes for the other end of the spectrum, where you get the metabolic horses, the horses that are starting to crush their soles and start getting laminar separation. So there's our signal. I've got handouts if you want, come get one.
Sure.